Have you ever seen a hotel that provides condom wrappers? A few minutes ago, a young elf named Ching, with the dream of starting from scratch, arrived in this continent, checked into this relatively normal hotel. Just as Ching was envisioning a bright future, the waitress brought food and water, as well as the local specialties. Seeing the delivered specialties up close, her face instantly turned red, quickly stating that she didn't need them, wanting to return them to the waitress. But the waitress refused and explained that it's the hotel's policy, no matter how much Ching likes it, not using safety measures. Blushing, Ching emphasized once again that she didn't need them. Ching put the specialties back in place and explained that she didn't have a boyfriend. Then she closed the door. Geez, dress so properly, but speak so softly. Just made a few snarky comments. The door was knocked again. Opening it, there was still the waitress outside. Upon seeing her relatives, she promptly apologized for her rudeness and took out a plate of peculiar-looking mushrooms. As a dowry, I didn't really care about this matter, so I readily accepted the mushrooms, signifying my acceptance of the apology. Smells so good, perfect for grilling. One immediately categorized these fragrant mushrooms as food. The waitress reminded me, these mushrooms are not meant to be eaten like this. I was quite puzzled. Not for grilling? Are they meant for stewing then? You should eat with the bottom side up, not the top side. These are specially prepared for solo travelers at our inn. Her grip on my hand loosened. The mushrooms on the plate all fell to the ground. When you check out, remember to give us a 5-star review. Time rolls on and it's nighttime. Ching came to the tavern, drinking and looking for work. She knew she was only good at fighting with her fists and feet. So, what she hoped for the most was to find a job as a guard or mercenary by the fire. Since that's the case, why not give it a try as a monster hunter? The figure in the black robe sitting next to Ching pointed out a clear path for Ching. King's eyes immediately lit up. She had heard of this profession. This profession indeed only required the ability to fight. Ching just gave it a simple thought. Decided to become a monster hunter as the person in the black robe suggested, and had already started thinking about the tools needed. The person in the black robe came up behind Ching, patted her shoulder, left with a wish of good luck, and headed towards the door of the tavern. Ching watched the figure of the person in the black robe until it disappeared. She didn't notice at all when the person in the black robe patted her shoulder, left something on her. Late at night, Ching walked out of the tavern, leaning against a tree by the road. She vomited violently. Ching felt her head heavy and dizzy. She couldn't even find her way back to the inn. She regretted drinking so much. Ching didn't notice. 2 men had been eyeing her in the dark. Ching searched for a long time, but still couldn't find the inn. Finally, she came to a lounge chair to rest. Because she was very tired, Ching planned to sleep on the lounge chair and started taking off her clothes directly. Ching, lying on the lounge chair, fell asleep not long after. Two figures hiding in the dark also emerged at this moment. Take a look at this girl. She's completely done for. Hurry up, we're very busy. Hey, another one taken care of. The two smirked and took out a bottle of unknown liquid. Pinching King's nose, they poured it into her mouth. Liquid down her throat. Ching woke up from her sleep. Ching felt a strange taste in her mouth. Feeling nauseous, she coughed and lifted her head and met the gaze of one of them. A scream pierced the air. Ching quickly covered her chest. What have you done to me? Is this okay? So boring. How do you feel now? Little girl, is it starting to take effect? After Scarface reminded, Ching indeed felt that something was wrong with her body. The two of them smiled and asked Ching how she was feeling. Ching carefully felt it, suddenly found the body surprisingly great. No more headache, no more hangover discomfort. Tattoos are hard to explain. The liquid in the bottle just now, it's my specially made hangover cure. Now you have to repay us well. Repay you? Don't play dumb. You know what to do. If someone helps you, you should repay others. Even elementary school students know this principle. It's not a big deal. You just need to help the two of us once or twice. Hearing the words of the two, in King's mind, some involuntary images emerged. Indescribable scenes. Thinking of that scene, Ching quickly refused and expressed that he was new here, doesn't understand the rules, so that person is too much for himself. But she hadn't finished speaking before the tattooed man interrupted her. Don't you want to do it? The scarred man grabbed King's hands from behind. Then we won't be polite. Ching closed her eyes for a moment. It was her final warning to the two, and ready to act at any time. The expected scene did not happen. The two took out a fan-shaped collection form. Ching imprinted her hand on it. We finally collected them all. After doing all this, the two then let go of each other and left without looking back. From a distance, you could still hear the conversation between the two. Why did we end up like this? The wife is in charge. You have to do for good deeds to stay out all night once. Hey, it's not a big deal. Let's not get drunk and stay out all night tonight. Ching, who was left behind, only realized at this moment. It turns out the two uncles are just married honest men. On the other side, a group of people in black robes gathered together. The leader among them in black robes is the one who led Ching to become a monster hunter. Are you sure this is possible? Are you questioning me? Not daring as her. Always observe her movements. Do not enter the random cabin encountered in the wilderness. It's very likely that there is a room full of aphrodisiacs inside. Time rewound a few minutes ago. The dwarf uncle relied on his own experience. Used something to stop the moaning paralytic's mouth, not letting her continue to scream. Ching didn't want the moaning and kneel back. Instead, she generously gave it to the dwarf uncle. Taking advantage of the dwarf uncle solving the moaning and kneel, Ching came to the side to rest. She glanced sideways and unexpectedly found a small house. Ching opened the door of the small house and asked if there was anyone inside. There was no response from inside the small house. Ching confirmed that this was an abandoned small house and prepared to go in for a rest. Because it was dark inside, Ching did not see the situation inside the small house clearly. After falling into the trap, Ching then realized that this was not just a small house, but a trap. There were many unknown liquids in this trap. These liquids were slowly dissolving. King's clothes were soaked as she searched through the trap, found a relatively thin wall. Ching gathered her strength and threw a punch, directly creating a large hole in the wall. The liquid in the trap flowed out of the hole with Ching. King's mood wasn't good after escaping from the trap. Not only did she not gain anything this time, her clothes were also completely ruined. But fortunately, Ching had some needles and thread. Can repair the clothes later. Now can only wear pajamas for emergency. Just put on the pajamas. Ching suddenly realized, since just now, she felt a little dizzy. Her body also became very hot. A strange moaning sound, involuntarily from King's mouth. Ching realized, suddenly covered her mouth. She couldn't believe the strange sound she made. King's consciousness became increasingly blurred, just like being drunk. 1 hour later, King's consciousness regained clarity. When she realized what she had just done, she felt like she was going crazy. Just then, the dwarf uncle walked over. Ching immediately pretended that everything was fine. The dwarf uncle pointed at the hole punched through the small house by Ching and asked if it was Ching who did it. Ching explained what had just happened in the small house. Told the dwarf uncle. The dwarf uncle asked, "Took a lot of effort, didn't it?" Ching was very puzzled. "It's very easy to come out," the dwarf uncle explained. The liquid inside the small house has a strong aphrodisiac effect. Ching recalled the silly thing she had just done. So that's the reason. Ching looked at the dwarf uncle. She blushed and asked if he had seen it. But the dwarf uncle looked puzzled. I don't know what Ching is talking about. Ching was curious. Could it be that this kind of creature's aphrodisiac has a special effect on women? Why does the dwarf uncle seem fine? The dwarf uncle took out a silver eggplant meal and placed it in front of Ching, explaining that if it wasn't for this thing, her little brother would have been congested and necrotic. Ching lied that she wasn't affected, maybe because she has a high resistance. The dwarf uncle threw a bottle to Ching and explained that the bottle contained the liquid from the small house just now. Ching quickly stated that she didn't need to lie again, explaining that she was immune to this thing. The dwarf uncle avoided this topic, explaining that this liquid is a popular aphrodisiac on the market, and told Ching she might have an attracting aura for monsters. encountering the kinds in one day. But Hydra's path to becoming a monster hunter is still long. Need to continue learning. Hydra thanked the dwarf uncle, thanked her for teaching so much, and for helping to collect these liquids. The figure of the dwarf uncle gradually receded. Could still hear the last words she left behind from far away. Saw something good. Need to pay for the ticket. Paused for a moment, then quickly reacted. A roar pierced through the forest. Didn't you say you didn't see it? You pervert. Dwarf, this seems to be an ordinary lanternfish. But you took her lantern? You will get a special item. As mentioned in the previous chapter, after parting ways with the dwarf uncle, Ching prepared to leave the forest. But she forgot to ask the dwarf uncle for directions, so she successfully got lost and unfortunately encountered a fork in the road. Ching went through a moment of mental struggle. Finally, she randomly chose a path. Following this path, Ching arrived at a huge lake. Although this was not the way back to the town, but it was still not bad here, so Ching decided to take a break here. Suddenly, a huge wave suddenly rose on the calm lake surface. A large fish leapt out of the water and headed straight towards Ching. Ching quickly dodged to the side, nimbly avoiding the acrobatics of this fish. This fish is called a flying piranha. Fish, just by the name, you can tell this is a very dangerous demon. The flying piranha saw Ching, leapt high into the air, opened its huge mouth and headed towards Ching. Ching remained calm. Compared to those twisted monsters, this fish looks much more pleasing. Ching reached out his palm, and the flying piranha, just as it was about to touch King's palm, King's palm quickly turned into a fist. A punch smashed the mouth of the flying piranha. The flying piranha. Ching didn't expect the flying piranha to be so tough. This also caused some damage to her hand. But it's not a big problem. Just at this moment, Ching noticed that the belly of the flying piranha was actually moving. Immediately, a knife pierced through the belly of the flying piranha and directly sliced the flying piranha into sashimi. An expressionless girl emerged from it. Ching ran over, asked the girl if she was injured, but the girl's attitude was not good. She warned Ching expressionlessly, told Ching to speak with respect. Otherwise, she slaughtered Ching. Ching looked bewildered. After a long time, finally encountered a normal person. Ching was very excited. Continuously conversed with the girl. Ching noticed the girl's skill. Great, so he asked the girl, is she from a martial arts family or a swordsmanship family? But the girl said her mother slices raw fish for a living. Her father is a butcher. The fish from earlier was just sliced with her home sashimi knife. So it turns out that's what her family does. He quickly changed the subject and asked the girl if she was fishing here to catch the raw fish for sashimi, and mentioned that he loved eating sashimi. But the girl said she disliked sashimi. Ching Jing was about to ask the girl why she wasn't here for sashimi. Then what is it for? Fishing. The sudden movement of the fishing hook pulled up a lanternfish. Ching quickly asked the girl, are you planning to make soup or barbecue with this fish? Then he saw the girl holding the lanternfish in her hand and removing the lantern from the fish. King's eyes lost their color as he watched the girl's relaxed expression. You finally broke through. There's not a single normal person here. Fun fact, when you feel lonely and desperate, you can go find the innkeeper lady. She recommends some really good weightlifters for you. Following that, Ching resignedly sat on the side and waited until the girl was done before finally asking. Mom asked the girl if she had something urgent or if her home was nearby. The girl explained that she only goes out once in a while. Usually, she only goes home every few months, and asked back why Mom was asking about this. Mom told the girl that she got lost. The girl pointed into the distance and told Mom, beyond that mountain, you'll see a big rock that looks like Cancun. Then turn right and keep going. Ching barely understood the girl's words. Ching packed up while asking the girl if she encountered many monsters along the way. The girl said that monsters are very rare and not something you can just encounter whenever you want. Ching paused in his movements. She recalled what the dwarf uncle had said before, that she seemed to have the ability to attract monsters. Ching grabbed her by the arm. The girl's hand invited Ching to join her. The girl was taken aback by King's sudden behavior. It was a bit fierce. She thought Ching liked women. Ching explained to the girl that he could attract monsters. has a great hunting effect. Two people can team up to share the spoils of war. The girl expressed that she doesn't like using second-hand items. Ching remained silent and indicated that he doesn't use such things. The girl placed her hand in front of Ching. Ching also reached out and clasped the girl's hand and wished the two of them a pleasant cooperation. But the girl was pushing away King's hand, then continued to reach out. Ching angrily asked the girl what she was doing. The girl said if she wants to cooperate, she needs to put down a deposit first. Give some sweeteners first. Ching was speechless too. The girl looked vacant, but actually very shrewd. Ching searched on his body. Not much money on me. Only the liquid collected by the dwarf uncle is left. The girl snatched the bottle from King's hand in surprise. Recognized the liquid inside as the secretion of the refuge crow. Believed what Ching said. Agreed to cooperate with Ching, but wants to pick the spoils first. Ching had no objection. After all, you know, this girl only knows how to deal with those perverted monsters. After the two returned to the town, they arrived at an inn. The girl opened to rooms. You feel it's too wasteful. Anyway, both of us are girls. We can squeeze together. The girl explained that she rarely comes here. Wants to taste the local specialties. Ching was stunned for a moment, then reacted. Blushing, Ching indicated that she understood. The girl then asked Ching what she understood, and directly told Ching that she's going to find a man. Ching hastily interrupted the girl, told the other party that this is what she wants, and asked her to speak softly. The front desk manager suddenly interrupted. She pointed the way for the girl, and told the girl that when her husband is away on business, she also often finds a man to practice weightlifting with. The girl was surprised that this was recommended by the manager, and Ching was already speechless. The girl left and stopped Ching, who was about to pay the room fee, telling Ching that she had already paid for it. Ching couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Although the girl is a weirdo, but from the act of helping him pay the room fee, she must be a good person. The front desk manager took out the key and told the girl that two rooms were open. One standard room, one attic room, and this is the key to the attic. With a heavy heart, he took out the money from his wallet, exchanged the attic for a standard room. Night, Ching left the inn to find a restaurant, noticing that many people had gathered by the roadside, so he squeezed in to see what was going on. It turned out that this was the location for posting rewards, and the reward that had just been posted was shrouded in a thin mist. There was actually a whopping 5 billion reward. Just as Ching was astonished, the young man standing beside her started explaining to himself. This dragon is called the False-Horned Dragon. It is a monster that the Sword Saint House hunted down centuries ago. People thought this kind of monster was extinct, but in reality, a small one still survives. It's all because the Sword Saint House died at the hands of this monster. All monster hunters want to get her. That's why the bounty is so high. Ching doesn't know the young man. The young man also didn't recognize Ching, just felt familiar. Didn't pay attention. The young man Ching was thinking about a whole 5 billion, enough to live a life of luxury for 3 generations. Ching decided on wealth and honor. Her goal is the False-Horned Dragon, while on the other side, the girl found the place the shop owner mentioned. She cut to the chase and asked the man how many hard pulls he could do. How long can a bag of rice be carried? The man told the girl that he hadn't done hard pulls for a long time, but he could carry rice for a whole day. The girl revealed a smile that had been absent for a long time. It's hard to imagine. The strongest swordsman of the generation did not die in battle with the Dragon Clan, but died in the craftsmanship after the battle. Before this, the name of the Swordsman House represents the pinnacle of monster hunting. She silently hunted monsters without seeking any reward. Nyan is respected by everyone. She is even hailed as the Sword Saint by the world. Whenever someone asks her why she does this, she always says it's my sister's dying wish. After House's death, future generations searched her residence. In her residence, they found many toys made from monsters. And they also found that the House family had been passed down for 3 generations. She didn't have a sister at all. People only then realized House hunted monsters. It turns out it was just to satisfy her own special fetish. The government, in order to quell the chaos, burned all of House's rebellious collections and deprive her of the title of Sword Saint. However, decades later, human curiosity redeemed House's reputation with the positive response of monster materials in the adult goods field. These products gradually became popular. The era of people raiding dungeons began. Do you want your skin to become so smooth? Just need to find a muscular man. Just practice weightlifting for one night. Following the previous conversation, the girl and the muscular man, weightlifting is over. It's already noon the next day. When the girl arrived downstairs, Ching was already having lunch. Noticed that the girl's skin became very smooth. Ching asked the girl if she had a secret. The girl had just mentioned a lyric. Ching quickly interrupted the girl and changed the topic too. Both sides hadn't introduced themselves yet. Ching first introduced himself to the girl. She told the girl that she came from the east. Her name is. Ching forgot if she was 21 or 22 years old. The girl told Ching her name is Haruko. She is 28 years old this year. Hearing that Haruko is much older than herself, Ching was very surprised. Got choked for a moment. Ching subconsciously wanted to exclaim, realized it was inappropriate and quickly changed her words. Then praised Haruko for having a very pretty name. Haruko didn't mind either. After lunch, the two sat in the room making plans for the future. Haruko asked Ching what she wanted to list. The more expensive and rare, the better to do, Ching said. The bigger the better, Haruko said. These kinds of monsters are not only hard to find, hard to catch, and had doubts about Haruko's strength. Hydrogen opened his hand in front of Haruko, asked Haruko if she had heard of Eastern medicine. They believe every part of your body is connected to the palm of your hand. Ching told Haruko she has put a lot of effort into this aspect. Just bite onto specific acupoints, and the body will be strengthened. Very miraculous. But Haruko's problem is, can King's little kitten also be strengthened? Ching was speechless too, seeing Ching full of energy. Haruko joked about going to hunt down the fake horned dragon. Ching directly expressed agreement. Haruko told Ching that she was joking. That thing has long been extinct. Ching told Haruko about the bounty he saw yesterday. Haruko felt incredulous. Ching was very curious. They talked about this topic all night yesterday. Why doesn't Haruko know? Haruko then expressed agreement. I was practicing weightlifting last night and also told you. That man last night was very strong. She felt very curious. Also left a record of the man's weightlifting on her stomach. You skillfully changed the topic. She asked Haruko if she wanted to join the hunt for the fake Ceratopsian. That's a whole 5 billion. Haruko expressed interest if there really is a fake Ceratopsian. Very interested, and told you, because the habitat of the fake Ceratopsian is too dangerous. You need to apply for a permit to go there. And that area also has very powerful monsters. For example, at the entrance there is a dark knight. That's for the holy knight to fall and corrupt, becoming a monster after absorbing desire. And her good buddy Baldabarian. So you need to pass the official organization strength assessment first. To get the permit, as they chatted, it's time to check out. They paid the room fee and left the hotel. After the two left the hotel, they arrived on the main street. Ching was full of enthusiasm. Haruko told Ching not to get too hopeful. Even if Ching is lucky, it's very difficult to find a fake Ceratopsian. Not to mention that others might find it first. Ching said she's going to be someone else. Haruko suddenly felt that Ching seemed not very clever. After a little thought, Haruko told Ching if it's a young Ceratopsian, the chances of the two catching it are still quite high. Hugging Haruko's neck, Ching imagined the future. Get the reward money? The two will idle away their time and the next life. Haruko expressed that she doesn't lack money. No need for reward money. Ching curiously asked why Haruko doesn't want the reward money. Why still hunt for fake Ceratopsians? Haruko explained to Ching, after a fake Ceratopsian dies, its body will not decay for centuries, and irregular electric currents will flow inside its body. Moreover, the flesh beneath the hard shell of the Ceratopsian is very soft. Toys made from this flesh, carrying a faint electric current, can bring extreme pleasure to people. Swordsman House was the first person to experience it. Ching Wei Jia's Ceratopsian mourned silently for 3 seconds. Suddenly, Chunzi said, "If that's true, maybe it can save." Halfway through the conversation, Chunzi stopped talking. Chin asked Chunzi why she didn't finish her sentence. Chunzi told Chin it's none of her business. The most important thing now is to get the permit. Chunzi told Chin, "This canal is all direct current. Just keep going straight." Chin couldn't help but sigh. It's really safe here. Suddenly, a noise came from the distance. Ching looked towards the direction of the noise, only to see a huge dust cloud rising in the distance. After the smoke cleared, a fake ceratopsian came into view of the two. This chapter didn't have an explosive start. Straight to the point, Ching and the others looked towards the source of the sound. At a glance, they saw in the town that huge fake ceratopsian. In theory, the fake ceratopsian should have its own activity area, but don't know why. It came to this small town and started indiscriminately attacking the residents of the small town. The town was in chaos. Chin was stunned by this bloody scene, but Haruko remained very calm. Haruko asked Ching what he planned to do next. Is it better to go catch her directly, or is it necessary to plan to slip away first? But Ching tied up her hair and made a different choice. She's ready to go save people first, while Haruko wants to go kill the dragon first. Ching advises Haruko to go save people first. Haruko expresses that the life and death of those people have nothing to do with her. Ching still wants to continue dissuading, but Haruko just directly flashed away. Ching can only curse and say damn. Then, to prevent the clothes on her body from affecting her, she untied the clothes on her body and bit down on 3 acupoints on her hand. She exerted force with her left foot on the ground and dashed out like a bullet. On the other side, Haruko had already arrived at the foot of the fake horned dragon. This was her blind spot. Just as Haruko was preparing to attack, her attention was drawn to the other side. In the collapsed ruins, a man with a severed arm was sitting on the ground. The fake horned dragon's claw was about to come down, flattening the man, saying it's none of her business. Haruko still reached out to save the man. This man with a severed arm is the man who practices weightlifting with Haruko. The man thanked Haruko for saving him and made a promise. Next time, Haruko will have a free seafood platter. But Haruko said she hates seafood. Just do it again by myself, and smiled, indicating that I'll do it next time. Haruko crouched down and gathered strength, jumped directly into the air, and spun around in the air. Gripped the knife tightly in my hand, stabbed fiercely towards the fake horned dragon's head. The huge shockwave almost made the fake horned dragon fall down. But that's all there is to it. Haruko was surprised to find her own knife couldn't even break through the fake horned dragon's defense. The fake horned dragon grabbed Haruko and, while she was dazed, swung its head, throwing Haruko into the air, and then a swing of its tail threw Haruko into the water. The youth who was rescuing someone noticed the splashing water on the surface, but she didn't pay attention to it. The youth finally brought the last injured person onto the boat and urged the boatman to leave quickly. He himself had to stay behind to deal with the fake horned dragon. All the residents who could be saved had already been rescued. Next, the youth was preparing to deal with the fake horned dragon. Suddenly, the youth noticed Haruko on the shore. Found Haruko injured. The youth prepared to check Haruko's injuries, but Haruko insisted that she was fine. That's when you realized it was Haruko who fell into the water just now. You told Haruko to take a rest and went to check on her yourself. Haruko wiped the blood off her face, told her she's no match for Jia Jiaolong, but you don't care. Don't worry about yourself. Yet you want to give it a try, encountering such a rare monster. If you don't give it a punch, you think you'll regret it for life. You say you're just one lifetime. Sneak away if it doesn't work. Jia Jiaolong almost exposed herself. Ching revealed her trump card. Just a moment ago, Ching wanted to attack Jia Jiaolong, but she couldn't find an opportunity. Was chased relentlessly for 15 minutes. But luckily Jia Jiaolong is huge. Big movements. It's not difficult to dodge her attacks. Plus, Jiaolong has a narrow field of vision. Ching just needs to hide in the buildings, find her weak spot, and deliver a fatal blow. But Ching didn't expect. Jiaolong caught Ching off guard first. A sweeping attack destroyed all the buildings in the small town. Ching knew she couldn't hide anymore. so she decided to confront head-on. Qing taunted Zhao Wang first, and sure enough, Zhao Wang was enraged. She flew up into the air, then rapidly descended. A palm struck where Qing was standing. Qing seized this opportunity and leapt onto the body of the fake Zhao Wang. But the fake Zhao Wang's skin was as tough as steel. There was simply no weak point to be found. Qing knew she couldn't afford to exhaust her strength any further, so she directly aimed for the weak point of all living beings, the eyes. She launched an attack, but Qing didn't expect that as she attacked, the Zhao Wang's shell actually covered its eyes. Her punch landed forcefully on the Zhao Wang's shell. This caused her fist to take a heavy blow. Only when in direct contact with hydrogen did she realize that the Zhao Wang's shell was even harder than a block of iron. Just then, the shell covering the Zhao Wang's face disappeared. It opened its huge mouth and bit directly into Qing's arm. But fortunately, Qing's arm was just stuck in the gap between the Zhao Wang's teeth. But at this rate, Qing's arm would still be torn off. Without hesitation, Qing swung her fist. She decided that even if her arm was torn off, she had to go down first. Qing's arm was pulled out. She rolled on the ground for several rounds before stopping. Although her arm was not torn off, it was heavily injured. She couldn't lift it up. She stood up unsteadily. She originally wanted to see the combat power of the Zhao Wang. If not, then escape. But judging by the belligerent nature of the Zhao Wang, if she runs away, she will definitely catch up. By then, she will be in a very passive situation. Now I can only figure out a way to deal with her. Qing remembered Haruko saying that this is just the juvenile form. If this is the juvenile form, then how terrifying would the adult form be? Qing's arm is still bleeding. Time is running out. Qing used his last resort, the self-immolation of the jade stones. Hydrogen bit down on his last acupoint on his hand, in exchange for losing consciousness, exchanging for the power to open up all the meridians in his body. In a life and death battle, losing consciousness means death. Before losing consciousness, there's only 10 seconds left. 10 seconds. Hydrogen charged toward the armored dragon like a cannonball. 9 seconds 24. Hydrogen surged towards the armored dragon at an incredible speed and charged up the armored dragon's body. 8 seconds 17. Qing attacked the armored dragon's body as much as possible. 7 seconds 32. The armored dragon finally took damage and let out a wail. 6 seconds 43. After standing firm on the back of the armored dragon, Qing gathered strength to jump again. 5 seconds 31. Hydrogen charged at the same speed as before and rushed towards the armored dragon's head. For seconds 53. The armored dragon immediately closed the armor on its head, but her head still suffered a heavy blow. 3 seconds 12. Hydrogen jumped into the sky. The armored dragon's gaze was firmly fixed on Hydrogen. To seconds 43, Hydrogen exerted all her strength to gather the final blow. 1 second 07, Hydrogen attacked the armored dragon's head. 0 seconds 19, the two sides are about to collide. Monsters should be in the groove. Monsters, said the next year's Demon King, finally appeared in this episode. Said in the previous episode, after the collision between Qing and armored dragon, she lost consciousness. When she woke up again, found herself naked, wrapped in bandages. Just as Qing was curious about where this place was, a person with a strong artistic style, staring at Qing's body, rubbing his chin and evaluating, looks like an 85th emperor. Qing punched this person in the face. This pervert not only casually guesses other people's measurements, but also actually guessed it right. Just at this moment, a knife was held against Qing's neck. A woman glared fiercely at Qing, forcing Qing to kneel down and apologize quickly. A soldier also came over at this moment, cheering to throw Qing into the milk pool, then carried out horizontally. Qing finally realized that this pervert was actually the commander of the Legion. The Legion commander ordered the surrounding soldiers to shut up. She didn't care about Qing's rudeness. Qing asked what happened after inquiring about the Legion commander Jia Zhaolong. The Legion commander then invited Qing to go out for a walk. The two walked around the temporary camp. Qing asked the Legion commander, "How long has it been since I fainted until now?" The Legion commander told Qing it had been about a week. Qing was very shocked. Slept for a week. The Legion commander then said she thought Qing had died. She didn't expect Qing had just fallen asleep. Qing asked the Legion commander if she led the army to defeat Jia Jialong. She led the army to defeat Jia Jialong. The Legion commander told Qing, "Nothing was left when I arrived there. Time was pulled back a week ago. When the Legion commander led the army to the town had already been destroyed. Just as they were looking for that armored bastard, they suddenly found the figures ahead. It was Chunzi and Qing, the Legion commander." He also very vividly imitated Chunzi's expression. Qing thought it should be Chunzi wrapping up. The Legion commander told Qing the specific details she asked for herself. "Chunzi is right in this tent." Qing opened the tent and saw Chunzi playing the flute with a soldier. She was used to it early in the morning, so she just blushed and closed her eyes. The Legion commander's face turned black. The two who were playing the flute noticed the arrival of Qing and the Legion commander. The Legion commander angrily approached the soldier and delivered several violent blows to her head and warned the soldier that "I asked you to watch her, not to enjoy yourself. It's not for your enjoyment." Qing saw Chunzi. First, I thanked her. "Thank Chunzi for helping me out, rescuing myself." Chunzi then told Qing expressionlessly that she just brought the fainting her out. Qing was very curious. Since that's the case, what happened to Long's family? After that, Chunzi brought Qing to the place where Qing fainted. Qing looked at the scene in shock, instantly stunned. Chunzi wondered if Qing had no impression at all. Qing really couldn't remember anything. Chunzi explained to Qing. After the collision between Qing and Jia Jialong was seriously injured. A foot fell off. Qing also fainted, but Jia Jialong did not make a move to finish off. Instead, it left directly, possibly out of fear. Qing couldn't help but sigh that it was really a blessing in disguise for Chunzi. Chunzi asked Qing if she didn't want to cut off this horn. "So that's why you did this." Qing said she didn't think that much. At that time, all she thought about was taking a chance. At that time, she speculated that this juvenile Triceratops, no matter what, is just a child, although living alone, but nothing could break her house. So she had never tasted the flavor of pain, so just need to hurt her a little. She should flee in panic, so I took a chance. Shunko asked her, "Do you have any bases?" She said at that time, "Just took a chance." In short, it was successful. Qing looked at the foot of the Ankylomen, suddenly realized that the thing he had knocked down should belong to him. Shunko nodded. That's how it's written in the law. Qing was very surprised. Ankylomen is worth 5 billion. No matter what, this foot should be worth 1 or 2 billion. Qing hugged Shunko, happily said that when the money is exchanged, she will treat her to a meal. 50. Oh. This is the offer the Legion commander gave Qing. Upon hearing this offer, Qing was dumbfounded. The thing he risked his life to capture, actually worth only 50. Oh. Qing turned to ask Shunko, "Is the Legion commander deceiving me?" Shunko shook her head and said it's not a deception. The Legion commander explained to Qing, "This thing is indeed rare, but the high reward is for the fake Jialong meat. This horn is just a lump of iron. It requires high-level skills to process this thing. Craftsmen who can do this usually charge a high price. In simple terms, it's just rare. But it's not worth much. If Hydro can cut off its tail, we can get for billion." Hydro suddenly felt warm. Nothing has gone smoothly for her since she came here. The Legion commander started bargaining. "Anyway, the price seems a bit too low. Even 50. Won't cover a week's worth of meals." Jews comics come from Kimchi Country. Prices are also based on Kimchi Country standards. The Legion commander expressed indifference. Whether to sell or not doesn't matter, but leaving it here also requires payment. "Are you kidding me?" Just as Qing and the Legion commander were arguing, Chunzi suddenly said she had bought to 100,000 with her own money. Qing was very surprised. Later, Qing thought for a moment, put on a pleasing look, asked Chunzi, "How about 250? Oh. Hearing King's words, Chunzi directly lowered the price to 150. Oh. Qing quickly admitted his mistake. Chunzi scratched her ear, said Qing talks too much, directly lowered the price to 70. Oh. In a remote area on the other side of the continent, Demon King's main base, The Demon King's army officers and the Demon King are having a meeting. The number of monsters is decreasing. Slimes are especially weak when it comes to human weightlifting. Regarded as lubricant, caused slimes to almost go extinct. Demon King's army officer Mayhuli saw the history. Said this is too disgusting. It's been so many years. Humans haven't gotten tired of it yet. Baoshong and Dao Wenbaosi feel indifferent. Inferior species. Anyway, it's no use for myself. Being caught by the lower class humans is their problem. Demon King Obo stood up from the throne, announced to everyone that we are going to end this. People should betray people. Monsters should betray monsters. This is the law of nature. It's also the cycle of life. Can't let it go. Humans treat our compatriots as toys for amusement. There's a special bonus when lifting weights. The maze turns into dry stone. Haruko got the pass. Haruko asked her mother what the next step would be. Is it time to head to the rock plain immediately? The wounds from the battle with the green and armor dragon haven't healed yet. Need to rest for a few more days. The green doesn't have much fighting power now. Haruko suggested that the green rest in her place for 2 days. It just so happens that I need to return the knife to Grandma. Haruko naturally agreed, but just then, taking advantage of the green's good mood, she asked if she could ask a question. Green felt a bit strange, but still said she could ask anything. Is she a virgin? That's Spring's question to Green. She was stunned, not expecting such a crazy question from Spring. To ask such a question, Spring then said, every time something creepy happens, Green would be so annoyed, so I want to ask. Spring said this is a normal reaction for a normal person. Spring told Green, since the two of us are partners now, then we'll be sticking together for quite a while. So I want to get to know you better, just like a little kitten. Darling, I'm a little embarrassed. She buried her head in the pillow, told Haruko that she had already done it. Haruko didn't expect you to actually say that, so I want to take this opportunity to get to know you better. Your face turned red to the ears, feeling that Haruko deceived her feelings. Haruko thinks it's a small matter. As they grow older, sooner or later, they will age and decline. To enjoy the present, Mom said, I only want to do the kind of thing with the person I love. Haruko understood it. Mom's love is pure, but often, people like Mom are the most perverted. By the time of weightlifting, she will try every possible position. He shouts for Haruko to shut up. When that happens, Mom will try every possible position. The next day, the two of them arrive at Haruko's house. Ching looked at the magnificent mansion in front of him. He was instantly dumbfounded. Ching confirmed with Haruko again. What does her family do? Haruko's answer was still sushi and meat shop. The two entered the courtyard. Haruko saw her own grandmother. Haruko's grandmother was very surprised. Haruko and her grandmother hugged each other. Haruko's grandmother was originally asking Haruko normally, but the second question was asking Haruko, did you not absorb the vitality of those men? Haruko then realized. It turned out that Haruko's family all knew about her promiscuity. Haruko returned the knife to her grandmother. Then she introduced herself to her grandmother. Haruko's grandmother was very kind, telling her to stay as long as she wanted before going to the summer. Haruko couldn't help but sigh at how good her grandmother was. How did Haruko become like this? Haruko told herself to be careful with her words. It's very scary if she makes her grandmother angry. Haruko was very puzzled. Haruko explained to Kyo, her own grandmother is a high-ranking member of the Demon Slaying Society. She likes to hum a tune while attacking enemies, and kills the enemy before the tune ends. So people in the martial world call her the Death Dance Princess. Haruko was already too lazy to be surprised. Haruko's family is not a military family. It's just that their family's sushi restaurant creed is cut off all the rude customers, so everyone is trained to fight. Do you now understand why Haruko's family is so rich? Push open the door of the mansion. You look at the spacious hall. Can't help but ask Haruko, can you find a restroom in such a big place? Haruko then says if you can't find one, just solve it anywhere. Anyway, the butler will handle it. Speechless, just as the two were chatting, Haruko's sister Harumi came to the two. Since Haruko was too lazy to introduce you again, so you introduced yourself to Harumi, learning that Haruko and you are traveling together. Harumi inquires, You must have suffered a lot traveling with Haruko. You're so hesitant, just about to deny it, but was interrupted by Harumi. Harumi tells you Haruko was very strange when she was young, so when she behaved strangely, she asks you to be more tolerant. She apologized to Haruko herself. Looking at this kind-hearted big sister, you finally couldn't hold it in. Diving into the two valleys of Chungshin, she finally met a normal person. Nighttime, you and Haruko are taking a bath. Haruko stares at your back and says you're really a pervert. You don't know what's gotten into Haruko again. Are you here to pick a fight again? Chunzi pointed at King's back, asking if Ching isn't a pervert. Then what's on his back? What's on your back? Ching turned around to look and found a hickey mark on his back. Curiously, Chunzi asked, "Don't people usually get these on their lower abdomen? What's on your back, Ching?" Ching indicated that he didn't get it done himself. Ching tried to get Chunzi to help him wipe it off, but it only wiped out blood. Still couldn't wipe it off. Chunzi told Ching to go see Chungshin. She likes collecting these kinds of strange things. Truly sisters. Chungshin's first reaction to seeing Bao was the same as Chunzi's. The questions asked were also the same. Why did you tattoo this thing on your back, Ching? Ching was also at a loss. Ching explained to Chungshin for a while. Chungshin told Ching, "There's a very small chance that this is a spell seal," and asked if you felt uncomfortable anywhere, or if anything felt different than usual. You didn't have that feeling. Chungshin told you, since you didn't have that feeling, then it's not a big problem. It doesn't affect your daily life anyway. But there's a mark of Bahao on King's back. Still made her feel very annoyed. But after Chungshin's comfort, Ching felt much better. After that, Ching and Chungshin chatted a lot. Ching told Chungshin about her encounter with Chunzi. Chungshin also talked to Ching about Chunzi's childhood. Chunzi was like an emotionless scarecrow when she was young. At least now she can communicate and express herself. But in the past, Chunzi also had a relationship with a man for several years. Ching was very surprised. She didn't expect Chunzi to have been in a relationship. Ching couldn't imagine what kind of person Chunzi had been in a relationship with. Perhaps another weirdo? Or someone who was very sorry looking. But Chungshin explained to Ching. The man Chunzi was in love with was a well-known handsome young man. He was very kind. And then Chungshin leaned close to King's ear and told how the man confessed his feelings to Chunzi. After hearing this, Ching was so moved that tears welled up in her eyes. She couldn't wait to ask about the next development with Chungshin. Chungshin told Ching not to be in a hurry and then slowly began to tell the story. This is an almost miraculous tool that can cure all mental illnesses. It was because of this miraculous tool that Chunzi developed a passion for weightlifting. Many years ago, when Chunzi was a child, she showed remarkable talent in this field of abstraction. From an early age, from birth, Chunzi has been slow both mentally and physically, which makes her very unsociable. But she is very clever and always ranks first in her class. When Chunzi was almost 20, a boy fell in love with her and confessed to her. At that time, Chunzi was still very innocent, so she didn't know what a confession and date meant and misunderstood the deeper meaning of the boy's intentions, mistaking it for giving birth to a child. It took the boy a long time to convince Chunzi, and they had their first date in the winter. During this date, the two of them kissed for the first time. The boy also taught Chunzi how to do her first weightlifting. The next day after it was all over, the boy asked Chunzi which part she felt most comfortable with. But Chunzi didn't feel anything at all. She was just curious about the simple in and out motion. Why do people like it so much? Several months passed from that point. The boy took Chunzi to the tree where he confessed his feelings. He asked Chunzi why she accepted his confession. They had been dating for so long. The boy had never seen Chunzi smile. Chunzi pinched her own face. She forced out a stiff smile. The boy told Chunzi not to force herself. They chatted for a while longer. The boy revealed his purpose for bringing Chunzi here. He told Chunzi the reason he invited her here. Chunzi is both slow and cold again. The boy feels like he's dating a puppet. She's already tired. The boy asks Chunzi one last question. During this time together, does Chunzi really have any feelings for me at all? Chunzi still remains expressionless. None at all. The boy smiled bitterly, indicating that he understood. It continued for 2 years and 0 days. The 6-month relationship ended like this. But Chunzi had no reaction. The turning point came 6 months later. Chunzi's brother-in-law prepared a birthday present for Chunzi's sister to be handed over to Chungshin by Chunzi, repeatedly reminded Chunzi not to open the box. Chungshin will come back later. Chunzi planned to put the gift in Chungshin's room first, remembering that last year her brother-in-law gave her a joyous garment. Chunzi's curiosity was piqued. After hesitating for a moment, she still opened the box. Inside was a stick. Through the letter inside the box, Chunzi learned that this stick is made from the horn of a unicorn, extremely rare. This stick was found by her brother-in-law and other treasure hunters at the other end of the continent, inside the ruins of an ancient relic. Because Chunzi loves collecting antiques so much, so he brought it to give to her. After reading the letter, Chunzi realized that this was a toy. Chunzi remembered her ex-boyfriend and decided to give it a try. When Chunzi tried it for the first time, she was so scared that she threw the toy aside. This toy brought an indescribable feeling to Chunzi. This is what Chunzi has experienced since childhood. The first time she felt this kind of sensation, her body was trembling. Chunzi was drawn to this sensation and began to try again. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, time after time. In Chunzi's mind, unconsciously, she recalled her ex-boyfriend. This mysterious toy bestowed sensory and emotional experiences upon Chunzi. But unfortunately, it was only temporary. Fragments of time spent with the boy flashed through her mind. Unexplained emotions surged within Chunzi's heart. She unleashed these emotions without reservation. The next day, Chunzi returned to her usual self. However, after that, Chunzi could also feel the thrill of lifting weights. This was the only thing that could make her feel human emotions. After hearing Chunzi's story, then you'll understand why Chunzi is obsessed with weightlifting. She recalled the words Chunzi didn't finish at that time. Chunzi wasn't just doing it for herself, to hunt monsters, but to regain emotions. The next day, Ching and Chunzi said goodbye. Chunzi set out on the journey again. Chunzi asked Ching if she knew the way. This road does not lead to the nest of the Ankylosaurus. Ching insisted that she was not mistaken. The place they were heading to was the dungeon.